You're listening to Procurement 6, the weekly podcast from the team at Art of Procurement that summarizes this week in procurement in just 6 short segments.
Hi there, I'm Helen Mackenzie and today is Friday, October 28th, 2022.
6.
There are so many things happening at the moment. Ups and downs in the economy, the continued impact of climate change and ever-shifting geopolitics. This means that many of us are working on projects that involve significant change, whether it's sourcing a new supplier to mitigate geopolitical risk or implementing new tech. Procurement's doing the heavy lifting in this regard. So for my tip this week, I wanted to focus on how to make the enormous and chaotic achievable by using some advice from former Navy SEAL Commander Mark Devine. In Unbeatable Mind, Mark tells us the best way to tackle something big and unpredictable is to simplify the battlefield. Identify the very next important step and focus on that, and focus on successfully completing that task. And by breaking things down into what Mark calls micro missions, we can ensure we're moving forward. And I think that's such a great tip in these challenging times, don't you? So how can you simplify your battlefield?
5.
I love the idea of the procurement experience, and that covers how our stakeholders find working with us and using our tech. And it's such an important aspect to get right. It's quite pivotal to procurement's success. Now, this week's podcast is a session from Mastermind Live 2022, our digital event that took place at the start of October. In this session, which was called Agile Sourcing, How Digitisation Drives Better Outcomes, Philip Idson was joined by Nick Wright, Director of Digital and Innovation Sourcing at BP. Also from BP, Ben Weston, Global Category Manager for Talent and Consulting, and Graham Moore, SVP at Globality. Now, I've picked out Nick's take on the procurement experience to share with you today.
Effectively, if we had the experience that a lot of us have in corporate procurement world, in our private lives, we probably wouldn't shop in those places. We'd just find other places to go. So why does it have to be so difficult and so archaic and take so long and be so manual in the corporate world? I'm failing to see a reason why. And, I think when we start to look at the procurement technologies that are coming through, they are absolutely helping us to get towards that stabilization, normalizing both sides of inside and outside of work. At BP in particular, that's something we're certainly targeting and putting our stakeholders and our customers at the heart of what we do, being truly digital. But the other thing is, about 18 months ago, we set out with quite a bold new corporate strategy, moving towards gas and low carbon. And in doing that, we effectively rewired the organization from top to bottom. And we lost a lot of people, about 20% of the organization. So with that perfect storm, within procurement, we've got the need to move towards a more consumer-like look and feel and experience, but also a gap to fill with technology. So that's really our guiding North Star and what's driving us today.
And there's lots more insight from Nick, Ben and Graham in the podcast episode. Check out the link in the show notes to find out more.
4.
Why are we here? No, I'm not getting deep and spiritual. I'm thinking about how procurement adds value. What's our role in the business? How do we contribute to the value chain? Is it understanding what our organisation spends? That sounds a bit like cost savings to me. Is it thinking about income, the income that our organisation earns? That sounds like placing spend in the context of revenue, perhaps. Or is it something in between? In the Sourcing Hero podcast this week, Kelly Barner's guest, Sachin Kastore, really helped me go deep into this topic. And one of the standout things he called out was the link to the people procurement serves.
I think understanding of commercial value chain helps tremendously to sourcing and procurement professional. We all agree that while procurement people at large are really excellent in what they do, cost savings, getting everything in place and so on, but we all agree that they struggle more on soft skills, especially stakeholder management. So I think understanding the commercial value chain helps a lot with stakeholder management. I truly believe that all the functions or departments or stakeholders are somehow linked with organization goals. So procurement just needs to kind of convey the link between their own actions and organization end goal to get more buy-in from stakeholders which they are dealing with. Uh, so I'll give you an example, right, which I have seen in my life. Um, so we were trying to get this a digital solution implemented, um, and as with every digital solution, user acceptance was a big thing, right? And we were kind of struggling with it. So we went over and beyond showing the cost savings, which is natural, how much we are saving through this implementation, but we actually went over and beyond to showcase how it will help you to grow as an organization. We even went to a point where we now had this one pager on the digital transformation which we did in our client proposals to showcase how now we are um, a much better company with this implementation. And naturally, immediately the sales guys were excited. They wanted to have this implementation in place because they can talk about it in their proposal to client. So if you go beyond cost saving, I think this will help to get more stakeholders on your side for procurement people.
Making those connections, a great way to add value to that chain.
This is Procurement 6 from Art of Procurement. To get notified every time an episode is published, go to artofprocurement.com/subscribe. 3.
Oh my goodness, it really was the best I've ever experienced. What does that conjure up in your mind? A delicious meal? A new app on your phone? How about something at work? Now, in procurement, we work hard to provide stakeholders with that best experience we can deliver. But sometimes we're hampered by the technology we have, and sometimes we're frustrated by the governance process we're obliged to follow. But how stakeholders view us is so important. So I'm still reeling a little bit from the result of our recent LinkedIn poll, where 43% reported that procurement is still seen as a necessary evil. No! How can we change that? I think it's time to find solutions to make procurement the best experience our stakeholders have ever had.
2.
I was interested to see that Gartner has produced a playbook for the modern recession. And although this sounds like something that's related to the latest fashion, one of the points that Gartner is making using that title is that any recession happening now will be unique and quite different from the ones we've experienced before. And with some interesting insight onto how to gear up for the challenges ahead, the report is certainly worth a read. You can find a link to it in the show notes.
1.
We've got a great AOP Live lined up for you next month, where Philip Ideson and Globality's Keith Hausman will be discussing how we can eliminate the obstacles to value through the procurement experience. They'll be addressing procurement's desire for stronger partnerships by answering live audience questions about how procurement is perceived internally and what needs to be changed in cases where this perception is either undeserved or an obstacle to value, determining where friction exists within the current procurement experience and finding ways to alleviate it, and providing the level of experience users want while also delivering the types of partnership procurement deserves and the measurable impact that procurement needs. Sign up now to join us live on November the 15th using the link in the show notes.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next Friday at 6 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time. If you've enjoyed this pod, help us grow and tell your peers to search for Procurement 6 wherever they get their podcasts.